And Trevor's presentation is a little bit about money, a little bit about technology, and a lot of it about how to choose the right time to innovate and execute change. So right now, we're currently experiencing a time where change is being forced upon us. And so how do we adapt? Who do we trust to help us through this change? So I'd like to introduce Trevor. He's the co-founder and chief growth officer at CareGrove. While Trevor is an expert in payment technology, what he really is loving is being a dad and a husband. In fact, Trevor told me that he is married to his best friend. I wish we were all as lucky as Trevor. And, you know, he's working from home and self-isolating with his wife and his 2 little munchkins out in Idaho. And so thanks today for joining us. And I'll go ahead and turn this over to you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Lola, for having me. And real quick, just a special thank you to Steve and to Farrah Gold for putting all of this on, and the innovation that's taking place is amazing. And thank you, everyone, for responding with where you're from. This is incredible to see people from literally around the entire country all gathered here.
And Canada.
And Canada. Yeah. That's
San Diego,
amazing.
New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, DC, Louisiana, Pennsylvania. Wow, I think we almost have every single state represented here.
Yeah, this is amazing. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. And Lola, can you see everything okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for taking time out of your schedules to be here. This is such an amazing opportunity. We feel remarkably humbled to be able to be a part of it. And we know that, and I know in the middle of everything that's going on right now with hardships and just so much change, that there is incredible innovation that's already beginning to take place. And this is living proof of it. So just thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. And I hope it's helpful. What I want to talk to you today about is about contactless payments, about rent, about revenue, about resident engagement. And I want to do all of that within about 20 minutes and ask some questions along the way, and then leave time at the end for some feedback. Just to give a little bit of context, our company CareGrove is exclusively involved in senior living. It's the only industry we serve. And so when we created the company, that was our main focus, was to start asking senior living providers what they need and what challenges they have, what opportunities they see for a better resident payment experience. And over the last couple of years, we've worked very closely with a lot of senior living providers in the country to help figure that out and to help address the questions and the issues that are there. And then when everything started to break out with COVID-19, we found ourselves thrusted into a new experience. And the image that you see on my screen right here is an image from an article that was posted not too long ago from a bank in China. This image is, as you can see, tellers disinfecting money. This is one of many images of people going to extremely great lengths to try to stop the spread or mitigate the spread of COVID-19 from objects that they're touching, including money. Images that we couldn't find that have been talked about are places like China and elsewhere who have actually been burning banknotes, and because of the fear of the spread of COVID-19. And I'll read real quick just a quote that came from this article, and it says this: while Chinese authorities have been destroying banknotes that have potentially come into contact with the coronavirus, Western countries remain woefully behind, not just in their response to the pandemic, but also in adopting digital payments. One silver lining to COVID-19 crisis is that this may soon change. And so the session that we want to talk about today really is around that, is what do we do in light of staff restrictions from not being able to go into the office, from resident and family restrictions and lockdowns and things like that. And what does it mean to focus primarily on taking care of our residents, but ensuring that they have the ability to be able to make payments, if their family is involved, to be able to make payments, and to be able to continue to see rent and revenue coming in for your community. So with that, I want to talk really about 3 ideas. The first one is what I call rapid innovation. The second one will be on empathy, and the third one will be on remote payments. And just to give us some context as we're getting started, this is really kind of a 30,000 foot overview of what we're seeing in the industry and beyond the industry as far as financial technology and contactless payments in general. And then we'll narrow in and really drill down on senior living. So first of all, what we're seeing across the globe is this massive shift to the buzzword, what is called contactless payments. Continents like Africa right now, who have been prior to this the most cash heavy place on the earth, have now made this massive switch over to contactless payments. And it's because, as all of us can appreciate, there's a safety concern involved in there. There's a risk concern involved in there, and there's an ability to be able to receive timely payments. And I'll give you a story. Over the last couple of weeks, our company has been fortunate enough to talk with a lot of senior living communities across the country. And all of them that we talk to are trying to figure this thing out, essentially in real time and with everything else that is going on as well. And one of the communities that I spoke with, he was the VP of Revenue Cycle Management. And he told me the story after after his community went on lockdown, that he actually sent one of his AR team members out to a Walmart parking lot to meet a family member of a resident to receive a $6,200 check for rent. And as he was telling me the story, he was also reflecting on it in real time and saying how much of a disaster that actually was, because when he started to contemplate on what he was trying to avoid, which was risk of people coming too close, risk of touching potentially contaminated money, all of that was essentially exploited during that one moment where these people were more than 6 feet from within each other. They did exchange the money, and there's this huge risk that he perceived. And so we're continuing to see a massive shift from paper-heavy checks, cash, and the like, to a switch over to digital payments, contactless payments. We're seeing this in the rental markets as well, where there was an article recently posted that rent in the rental markets was down 30% from April 1st to today. And we're seeing financial institutions and utility companies and additional companies putting out content after content, encouraging users to be able to make payments online, to use their bill pay portal, to figure out a different way other than bringing cash, bringing checks, or anything the like into their community. As you can appreciate, we are not immune to this in senior living. Senior living historically has been a cash or check heavy industry. And with everything that's going on right now, what we continue to see outside of the industry and even within is that now is a really critical time, not just now, but for the future, to make a shift to contactless payments. There's one article I read that said this: under normal conditions, it would take a long time to change. People default to what's familiar unless there's something to jolt you out of it. Contactless payments have come up as a new option for consumers who are much more conscious of what they touch. And so what's happening right now is a great spark and opportunity to consider how we can streamline payments to make it easier for our residents and their family members, to make it safer, and then for our AR teams and finance team to continue to see revenue come in, rent being paid, etc. So with that, I actually want to stop for a second, and I want to open it up for discussion. So as Lola said right at the beginning, you can chat, use the chat feature to be able to respond. But I've talked to tons of communities over the last 3 or 4 weeks and asking them these questions, seeing how it's affecting them. And we would really love to be able to hear from you as well on how this might be affecting your community or what you've seen so far. So would be great to, I'll turn it over to you, Lola, for that.
Sure, go ahead and take a few minutes and put your comments or questions into the chat box. And, you know, Trevor, that's really, really true that it takes a kick in the pants to make something happen in a mass scale, right? Like I think back to the day, the very first time I ever used online bill pay, or even I remember the first time I ever even logged into my online account. And now it's just second nature, right? And working in senior housing, I was always astonished when I would run across a resident who does online banking. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. But it's becoming more and more common. And this whole idea of not using cash or checks anymore, it only makes sense that this is going to happen through every single industry out there. So a
Yeah.
couple questions coming in and comments coming in. Let's see here. I just saw. Okay, do you offer credit card processing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see some good responses. Some communities that are saying they have some things in place already, which is really fantastic. And then a question on about chips and contact and touchless process, which is great. And then the question from Ryan on credit card processing. And real quick, we'll get to this right towards the end. But yes, our company does offer credit card processing, ACH processing, and debit card processing, all from remote locations. So your team, whether it's an AR person, can continue to receive payments and see deposits take place, even if they're not within their facility or at their headquarters. And then for residents and their family members spread across the country to be able to also make payments as well. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's a great question.
And Colleen says, we have one community that has been doing this for some time, but not many residents using, and more trying to add it on now due to COVID. So we're starting to see that trend happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's pretty fair within the industry. We're starting to see a really massive uptick in there, and then helping the residents to make sure it's safe, it's secure, it's intuitive to use is critical. And then as we'll talk, I'm sure more, pricing is always a concern there, and cost, and we'll talk more as we get to it. But our goal as a company is to not only educate around what we're seeing across the globe in our industry, but also to be able to provide really critical solutions at costs, at really inexpensive costs, so that with everything else that's going on, this can really solve a problem for you.
And then Marie just said, seniors want money in their pockets. That is always a challenge, how they get it into their hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Maria, to your point, this is a paradigm shift. And so one of the things that we do here is around residents and their choice of being able to pay. And for some residents, that's continuing their process of check. For some residents, that's continuing to try to innovate and things like that. And so right now we are seeing a massive shift in the paradigm of the industry to be able to get residents on a different payment platform. And just real quick, even to that point, Marie, is one of the things that we're seeing in the industry, really, as all of us have some type of economic hardship going on, the need for cash and the need for control of your cash flow is critical. And so we're seeing a shift in wanting to move towards a credit card payment, because that offers the opportunity to either, one, to be able to pay it off over time, or, as I'm sure some, if not most, have read about major credit cards deferring payments and putting out payment plans. So rather than having a check that immediately debits your funds, or an ACH transaction that immediately debits cash flow, a credit card is becoming an even better option for seniors, their families, and for communities to be able to make payments and receive rent and revenue.
Thank you for that, Trevor.
Yeah. I'll do one more with, for Alexandra. She said, what makes this portal different and unique for senior housing as opposed to regular rental portals such as Yardi? I would say I love Yardi. I have colleagues over at Yardi, and think what they do in the industry is really fantastic. Our portal, what we did is actually we responded to COVID-19 with making some pretty big adjustments in our portal and rolling out a new product in response to what is happening. And so one of the ways that we differentiate ourselves from other payment companies is by the fact that we are solely focused in senior living. So everything is geared towards the idea that a senior is going to be using it. So is it easy to use? Can it be done without training? Can someone just write in and easily navigate the system? And so those are some of the differentiators, but we can certainly get into it. And then Diane, we do not take credit cards anymore due to the cost. Switched to ACH payments a few years ago. Real quick, and this will last one and we can keep moving. We hear that a lot from communities, and that historically has always been the biggest barrier to using a credit card or accepting a credit card, is for senior living operators to have to pay that fee. Our company is fortunate enough, we partner with Visa, and we partner with Visa directly, and we were able to roll out a program for senior living that enables you as the operator to be able to pass that fee onto the cardholder as a convenience fee. And so within our software, it creates a zero cost option for you, the community, if you would like to offer credit cards as an alternative payment form. So there actually isn't any cost involved for you as the community to be able to offer credit cards, but we can get into that more. And Jennifer, you're spot on with the points. Cashback, airline miles, Amazon, whatever you name it. That's what we hear a lot is residents and their family members want to be able to get those points. And I'm sure after all of this calms down, to be able to get somewhere like a Hawaii or on a beach and a Mai Tai and something like this will be really great. And to either have some points for that or something would be fantastic. So great. Well, this was fantastic. Thank you all so much for responding. So that's the 30,000 foot view of contactless payments, the need and the shift into digital payments, such as credit cards using a payment portal. And this will be what we see coming after this, that it will largely be the expected payment form. And secondly, I want to shift to a section that we entitled on real empathy. And this is really a focus back on you as the community. So CNN had put out an article about saying hospice workers are going above and beyond to create joyful and meaningful moments for patients and their loved ones. Some of these efforts hinge upon technology. Others are all about the heart. And so for our company, we really think that and believe that you are the heroes in this. Each of you are making substantial sacrifices right now to take care of residents across the country. Because of that, we appreciate that your time is remarkably precious right now, and it's critical to be able to use it as wisely as possible because you are doing the hardest work right now. And you should be seen and promoted and celebrated for that. And so what happened for us is when COVID broke out, we asked the question of our company is how do we respond to this? And is there a way that we can help and serve in some meaningful way? And so we took that and we started going to some communities that we have relationship with and we serve. And we asked them, what would be the best thing for you right now? How can we come alongside and help? And payments for us is the way in which we do that. And so we were able to create a new product that's able to get up and running within 24 hours. It's no cost to the community. It's easy to use. No real IT resources are required. No big implementation, no big marketing efforts, but is there as a resource for you as the community. And I wanted to share one of the communities that we were fortunate enough to get up and running this past week was Discovery Senior Living, and their central billing supervisor, Florent Nestor, wrote me and sent a quick quote because we asked him what would be most helpful for you? How do we best serve you? And what do you need right now? And what are you seeing? Are we seeing rent go down and delinquencies go up and NSFs go up and different things like that? And this was our experience with Discovery. He said, our experience with CareGrove has been really amazing. From day one, CareGrove has made our implementation of our credit card payment solution very smooth. They are transparent on prices, quick to react, and always available for questions. They are also very flexible and can accommodate any request or customization in a fast way. And it's been a pleasure to work and recommend CareGrove. And for us, that's critical because we're living in a tension where we do not see this as an opportunity to exploit, but how do we come alongside in a more profound way to be able to serve each other together? So shifting from seeing it as a vendor relationship to seeing it, how do we take care of residents and help facilitate rent and revenue and innovation and growth together? And so this has been one of the ways, and we really wanted to put emphasis on the fact that what you guys are doing really is the incredible work. And so we wanted to stop again to ask this question. And this is an opportunity. Lola, you and I were talking about this earlier, but we would really love the candid insights that you have, because we're trying to figure out time is precious. Things are moving quickly and changing by the minute. We want to be able to provide solutions that make a meaningful difference. But what do you want us to know as vendors in the industry about how best to serve and to relate, and how best to engage right now?
Right. And what we were talking about was that everybody is so busy and they don't want any more phone calls. If it's another
Mm-hmm.
vendor calling to pitch something, I don't have time for that. Well, day-to-day business for vendors is they're trying to grow their business and trying to make sure to help their customers. So how do we continue to do business as usual in the middle of COVID? And that's a really tough question. So we would love to get some feedback from the audience there.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be great. And it is such a perplexing time. And how do we navigate growth and innovation while making sure the main priorities are still there of taking care of residents and their families, and making sure that people are safe. And so we'd love to hear.
So Ashley says, in our senior affordable housing setting, many of our residents pay by cashier or money order due to a number of reasons. We have online payment options available, but many of our residents do not have access to the internet. The community computer rooms are locked during this time, or else the residents cannot afford internet options, or they do not trust the system and like to go directly to the manager to hand off the money. We worry about residents needing to go out to get their choice of payment methods. That is a real big concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ashley, thank you for writing that in. And I can speak to that quickly. One of the solutions within our software is the ability to, for you as an administrator or someone on your team, to be able to receive that payment, whether it's a credit card, debit card, or ACH, over the phone. And so instead of having them go out and trying to figure out a money order or a cashier check or something like that, and even with the restriction of lack of internet, they still can have the ability to be able to call in with their credit card, with their bank information, or their ACH or their debit card information, and you can actually put that in right on the website, right in the software for them. And we can talk about the recurring payments that can be set up and all of those things, but that's really good.
So some of this is kind of a habit, right? To go out, go to the bank. Maybe it's a socialization point for an older adult, right? They like going to the bank. They like their teller. So change is being forced upon them at this point. What are some of the other objections that you think a resident is going to give you to going digital? I mean, so there's some companies out there they have to do digital activities with. So what are these barriers that we're facing?
Yeah, absolutely. So you are right. We are seeing some institutions nearly mandate the use of a payment portal right now, and that's because of the fear of contamination for cash and checks and things like that. But some of the other hurdles we hear are pretty classic, but they're really true and they're very personal, which is a concern about and I'm seeing it right here. This is fantastic. Barriers, Diane, so great. Logins and passwords can be overwhelming for people.
Absolutely.
Learning something new is scary. And Marie added again, remembering passwords, big hurdle. And so that's fantastic. Those are the things that we hear. And so again, getting back to, our whole focus as a company is on senior living. And so we have taken away a lot of the big hurdles with passwords and things like that. So you don't have to change it every 2 minutes. It doesn't require 47 characters and 18 hieroglyphics. It's a simple password without any big issues, and it just stays there. So it's safe, it's secure, but it's right there for them to be able to use. Lack of trust too, afraid of getting hacked, which is so true. The majority of us all have remembered what happened with Target, what happened with some of the other large institutions that have seen hacks. And our company goes to great lengths to mitigate that by actually not using any or storing any credit card or payment information within our site. It's actually stored with our bank and then tokenized and sent to us. So even if there was a situation where someone hacked into the software, none of their information would be accessible. they wouldn't be able to get any of that sensitive information. And then Brian, is it a reality that residents will pay a credit card fee that can be very high per month, right? Yes, and that's another objection that we hear. And two things that what we continue to see in the industry that have changed that, and it's continuing to change over time. Number one really is the rewards points. So say a credit card transaction can be anywhere between 1 and 3 plus% for a credit card transaction, sometimes even higher. What we're seeing with the industry is that credit cards generally offer anywhere from 1 to 3% in cash back. And so they're seeing that same amount come back in cash back or rewards or something like that. And so generally it's a wash as far as the fee that they've had to pay to be able to get the points back. And then the other part is the fact that it is a fixed fee every month insofar as they have to pay it every month. They're more likely to want to be able to use a credit card, get the points back, set it up on a recurring basis, and then not have to worry about keeping track of it, which is another part that we hear. So this is great.
Well, we're coming up on it's 2:13 right now, so I just want to be mindful of time. So do you want to finish up on number 3 and then we'll
absolutely
wrap up?
Yep, absolutely. This is great. I wish we could keep going with all these questions. It's tremendous. Lastly is I'll just show very quickly what we've done within our software to create a solution for you as senior living operators. Here's a quick quote, and this will be sent out with the deck, and so you can take a look at it after. But I want to show you just real quick what our page looks like. So one of the pages that we have, and this is an option to get you up and running within 24 hours. You don't have to send us any information. It's a front-facing page that residents can use. You can customize that page. They enter their required information that you determine. They enter their credit card information here. And as you can see, we do real-time verification along the way. And again, this just makes it easier so that they know that everything is correct and accurate as they go. And then the fees are automatically calculated right here for them. So they know by the time they check out and make the payment that their fees are in there, that they know what they are. There's no surprises. There's nothing hidden. It's all extremely transparent and quick and easy to use, and something for your staff just to be able to have as an option on their website. So CareGrove now can be up and running within 24 hours. We're continuing to see the drive for it and the need for it within the industry. The goal is to be able to help rent and revenue continue to come in for operators and to be able to offer another solution for their residents and their family members. So that's what we have. Do we have any other time for?
Yes, let's go ahead and take 2 questions. So one of those questions was about fraud and risk protection. Do you guys provide that?
Yeah, really good question. So our software is as protected as it can get with fraud and fraud mitigation and everything that is involved in there. And so we can certainly talk more about that as well. But yes, we do. Another question that came in, are the payment info stored in the platform for recurring payments? Really great question. So the payment info is tokenized and stored in the software so that it's a true recurring payment. They don't, once they set it, they don't have to touch it again. They'll get a notification letting them know that a payment would be pulled. But the actual information is not stored on the site so that in the event of a hack or anything like that, nobody would be able to gain access to it. And then it looks like there's one more. Are the payment amounts completely configurable? As in a resident gets a bill for X amount and then they can pay that online, or is it regularly scheduled interval of payments, or both? Really great question. It's both. So the payments can stay static each month, but for most residents, it does fluctuate. It goes up and down. And so within the software, it does have the ability to be able to change with the resident and the payment, and that they can handle that within the software as well. So that's a really great question.
All right, thank you, Trevor. This has been recorded and will be shared out with you in the coming days. And I do want to just share one little funny story just about digital payments. The other day I hired an intern, and I went to pay her and I said, what would you prefer? Apple Pay, Zelle, PayPal, or you know, what was the other ones, right? And she's like, oh, let me think about that. Let me think about that and get back to you. I'm like, wow, really? You have that many options? Yeah. So yes, things are changing and we can't stop them at this point, but thank you, Trevor, for being there and helping us to adapt and giving options and educating us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for the time, and feel free, that's my cell phone, to call or text or something if there's anything we can do to serve you throughout everything that we're going through. So thank you again so much.